Rain. Chaos Rain presents Professional versus Stay at Home. What's the difference? Broadcast December the 26th, 2021. Enjoy.
The views expressed on Talk Real Solutions, hosted by Tyrone Thompson at TalkRealSolutions.com, are the views of Tyrone Thompson and do not reflect the views of TalkRealSolutions.com, YouTube, or etc. The content here belongs to Talk Real Solutions and its many contributors. Views and opinions expressed by all contributors belong to them and not TalkRealSolutions.com or Tyrone Thompson, the host, or etc. All data and information provided on the site is for informational purposes only. Talk Real Solutions makes no representations as to accuracy, completeness, correctness, suitability, or validity of any information on this site and will not be liable for any errors, omissions, or delays in this information or any losses, injuries, or damages arising from its display or use. All information is provided on an as-is basis.
In a world where there's crime, corruption, violence, murder, rape, theft, and all forms of atrocities that plague the world in which we live in today, what you're witnessing, we are living in a state of chaos, and it will take a greater or more extreme chaos to restore the order in which the world we live in today. Good evening, and welcome again to another edition here to the Chaos Rain channel. As you know, I go by name Chaos Rain. And today's stream, we're going to deal with the business side of things. And, you know, a look in towards, motherhood, worker, etc. The things that, I believe, and it's just me, that certain parts of the community look frowned upon on today's world. And as you know, there's a new term we call modernization, modern man and modern woman. But before I give you the actual title of the stream, go to talkworldsolutions.com. There you see the 3-point plan for Black empowerment and Black achievement. And under the 3-point plan, you'll see a list of Black established banks located everywhere in the United States of America. I think there's like maybe under 30 now. Last I checked. Also, here on the T.R.S. side of things, it's always good to start what we call an independent business, or we call Black-owned business. And, it doesn't have to be a big one or a very lavish one. It's something that you could just find that you're good at, or something you think the market is needed. Go in there, apply, get your LLC, and, take the risk and try something different and have a tangible business on the side. Not no hustle, not that nonsense what people are doing nowadays where they say, I do this on the side and you pay me and I do a service. I mean, as you know, 2022 is different now. And you cannot do what you've been doing now for the last couple of decades. You're going to have to eventually report everything. I mean everything. If you're doing a hustle on the side and you get money digitally, hand over phone, not fist, because nowadays things are going electrical now. Digital currency. And I'm not talking about cryptocurrency. I'm talking about things like, apps that you exchange from one bank account to the other to pay for things. That's where we are, and that's where we're seeing, and that's where we continue to heading in this 21st century we're in. So, like always, start your own small little business today and, get the cracking, get that money. On T.R.S. website as well, I forgot to mention, there is the latest news, articles, and current events on the website as well, which you also could, if you feel you like the information on the website or you like what's being done on the Talk World Solutions side of things, you could also donate as little as $5 to the channel itself. So like I said, all the information is on the website. Go to talkworldsolutions.com and, follow the page today. Also, you can follow TRS on Facebook or I should say, Talk World Solutions on Facebook, the fan page, the like page. Once you like the page, you might get invited to the private chat room where everything goes in the DM. And I'm not talking about that type of DM, if you know what I mean. So, a lot of things go crazy, a lot of back and forth argument, talk about politics, life, etc. All that's in the DM side of the Facebook page of Talk World Solutions. So like the page on Facebook and join in the action today. And last, Talk World Solutions also on YouTube as well. The same name, Talk World Solutions with the line, You'll find the page on YouTube as well. Bunch of videos on there, a lot of videos on there. So, you might find something that you'll find that can be of entertainment or usefulness. Not like Chaos Ray channel, but that's another story. But nonetheless, you can subscribe to the page on YouTube and follow most of the channel's episodes. And me, you can follow Chaos Rain on YouTube as well. Type in Chaos Rain. And you can also follow me on Twitter as well at Chaos Rain the 7 on Twitter. And you can now add me as a friend on Facebook as well. Eric Rain on Facebook. Now, for the IG side of things, I'm not sure if I'm going to create an IG page for this channel. I'm still thinking about it. Eventually, I might have to. But like I said, stay on the lookout to subscribe to the channel. Oh, when you subscribe to the channel, make sure you hit the red button and the top bell for all uploads and notifications, what I do on Chaos Reign. And I also will put a Discord link somehow. I gotta figure out how to use the Discord a little bit more because Discord is very helpful. So that's it. That's all. I'm not gonna hold y'all time up. And let's get this information party started. So now, the title, as I pull up the information. Hold on, let me check if I'm on the YouTube side of things. Gotta take a look. Ah, yes, I do. Okay. Go upload it now. Okay. Tonight's stream is titled Chaos Reign Presents Professional versus Stay-at-Home Woman. What is the difference? And today's stream I have, hold on a second, let me do this. Yeah, I don't like that when they pop up that nasty little look like spam thing on the chat room. Anyway, as I open up the broadcast and open the lines for the very first time, the wife of one of my good friends, Paco Abrigo, the one and only Miss Abrigo, Cheyenne. Hello? Are you there?
Cheyenne? Yes, good evening. It's pronounced
yes. Shanae, yeah. You know, with names, it's always repetition, Shanae, you know, until it sticks in your head and it feels like water. Yes, and I see, Miss, okay, let me open this line as well. Hello, Paco, you there? Paco?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yeah.
Dr. Blaque is in the building.
Yes, Dr. Blaque. You know, I was hoping that you were going to call in a little later, but it's fine. I'll be lying too.
I'll be quiet until you're ready for me. I will let the interview go until you're ready.
All right, excellent. All right. So, Mrs. Blaque, welcome for the first time on T.R.S. Before we go into this lengthy subject, I'd like to take a step back in time, which will jump into the present and hopefully move forward to the future. For the very first time on T.R.S., tell the people that's listening for the first time a little bit about yourself.
Well, yes, my name is Shanae Abrigo, Mrs. Blaque. I am a professional woman. I graduated Embry-Riddle with a Bachelor of Science in Technical Management with a minor in Logistics. I did, the reason why logistics is I did 11 and a half years in the Navy, and I was a logistician there, so it kind of just made sense to continue on with something I already had learned. And then I moved around, had a couple jobs, and now I am a lead logistician for NASA here in Alabama, so life is good. I am, like I said, I am a career woman, so yes, I've been doing logistics for about, let's say about 20 years.
Is it over 20 years now?
Yeah, right about 20 years.
Okay. But work for NASA, that's amazing. Nice. You know, it's very hard. A lot of people think that NASA is something easy that people could just get into, but people must understand is actually something for people that are, you know, not only well trained but are experienced to get into NASA, because it's the next stage of intergalactic travel, if I like to say so myself, because they're looking towards not just the Earth but other planets, and they need the best and the brightest to make this happen.
I'm actually the department lead logistician. We're actually in the current phase of stacking the rockets, what they call, as they're building it, getting ready for a launch. So we're hot and heavy Everything is booked and busy, lots of hours, but yes, and I enjoy it. I'm one of those people who actually enjoy what I do for a living. It's great to see, how a rocket is built, firsthand, how it's built, piece by piece, step by step. I've been there from the beginning of this launch that's coming up. So yeah, it's great.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to take any concepts or ideas from the other men that deals with batteries, in regards to how they deal with rockets now, the back and forth. Talking about Tesla, Elon Musk, he has shoot rockets up in the space now. So I'm not sure if NASA learned something here and there to improve or refine how people take off now. I mean, that's just a question. If you want to answer, that's fine. Not, Dr. Black?
I do not work with Tesla.
Oh, okay. All right.
No. I'm responsible for getting all the different NASA locations. There's different ones, California, New Orleans, Houston. All those places come together, and they actually build a rocket in Florida. So my job is to actually communicate with each different installation, NASA installation, to piece together the rocket itself down in Florida. So I communicate with all the other centers.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So now to this very usual question, Mrs. Black, professional woman and a stay-at-home woman. Is there really how can I say a difference in the modern era we're in today, since things have so much changed as we look at the workforce between men and women, especially women? That'd be probably my first question.
Can you rephrase the question one more time?
Okay.
What do you mean by what's the difference? Because let me say this: in each profession, whether it be a stay-at-home mom or a professional working outside the home, it's important to communicate. Like interview with the job. Okay, what are your expectations? What do I get for this from this company? So I think there's a little bit more meat to the concept than just choosing to be a stay-at-home mom or choosing to work outside of the home, if that makes any sense.
Okay, that makes sense. And normally the question, because I hear from a lot of the fellas, they I guess made their complaints or issues that in regards to women today, because women work nowadays, that it seems to me that these guys have it together where they want their woman, if they're married or whatever the relationship between the two, that it seems they don't want their woman to really take on the career that they went for school, whether military or just school like university, and they invest their time just to learn, just to fend for themselves, to now say to stop what they're doing just to solely be just a stay-at-home mom. And it sounds good, but when I look at, because we live in America and this is a capitalist system, that unless you're a man that's making like a whole lot of money, like a lot of money, like really a lot of money, and I'm not talking about six figures, much beyond that. Do really these men really think that they can really hold a woman in the status we are today, to have her stay home and make her just, be a housewife and just neglect everything, she work herself up to the point, to being in the career that she likes to do? Is that really realistic, Mrs. Black?
I think I do not think it's realistic. I do not think it's a realistic goal based on statistically, the American family. I don't think it's realistic. Let's be very clear. There's only 2%, the top 2% that make enough money to actually have a stay-at-home wife. And what I mean by a stay-at-home wife, to me, there's more. When I say the meat, here goes the meat. Stay-at-home wife, I'm a firm believer in a woman should have her own identity, meaning something that defines you, whether it be a career, whether it be a hobby. It needs to be something of that nature. Being a mother should not define you as a woman. So when I say staying at home mom is not realistic, most men cannot afford, or most families cannot afford, to have one partner stay at home and still live let's say a modern middle class lifestyle, meaning you own a home, you're not living check to check. There is money for vacations and extracurricular activities. A lot of people don't have those there's no I've seen credit card debt. A lot of people don't have that freedom to do it. So staying at home is not realistic because you're actually decreasing your earning potential, your family's earning potential, which would lead to a better lifestyle, better schools for children. So there is a thin line between, can you afford for your wife to stay home, or your spouse, let's be politically correct, can you afford for your spouse to stay at home, or are you guys barely making it check to check and you need two incomes? Before my husband is listening in, he's probably laughing because I made notes because I am a professional before this broadcast started, because there were things I wanted to bring up. And one of the things I said was communicate your wants, needs, desires to your partner prior to having children. What does a stay-at-home mom look like to us? Not just to you, but to us, because we are in a relationship. So is there I'm a firm believer in, a family pay themselves back. So, you put money into your savings account. Then however your emergency funding looks like, you do that. And then I'm a firm believer in whoever's a stay-at-home parent should get some type of, let's say, allowance, stipend, whatever you want to call it, to do things that are just for them. Because usually the person who makes the majority of the money has their hobbies or whatever they do for them with the money that they make. So the stay-at-home parent, which is a job, should also have those same luxuries. So whether it be getting highlights for your hair, spa days with your friends, mani and pedis, you should get a weekly stipend. If you cannot allow that in your relationship, then it's not a reasonable expectation for that person to stay home. What you're asking for is a live-in partner who will eventually resent the relationship because they don't have anything to identify themselves. They're staying at home. They're taking care of the children. We know about it all the time. They have no hobbies. They do nothing that makes them feel good other than taking care of the home, and that's not a good way to spend your life for anyone, especially a woman who has rights.
Excellent. Let me give the call number for those that will listen. The call number for today's stream is 717-908-1834, access code 917-324#. I repeat, 717-908-1834, access code 917-324#. Today's stream is titled Chaos Reign Presents Is Professional versus Stay-at-Home Woman, What is the difference? One thing I've noticed, because me and Dr. Blaque, we did the numbers of school debt. And I don't know if you caught that broadcast. And we look at the ratio of debt between, let's say, us as a people, which we were very high in the debt. It makes me think that if a person's taking the profession, right, and eventually they're in their field, and let's say they want to have a family, we always leave out that we're going to be gathering each other's debt. So when I'm always hearing about the stay-at-home thing, it does sound good, but people forgot to say that one of the few things that hold people that's building wealth is you accumulate too much debt. So it makes me think, do we really have a real plan of action, especially the man or whoever, in regards if we're going to take on this journey as a couple, that there are certain things that we have to will to build for a better future. Especially, we know that children are going to be soon be involved in this union. So, I would say my question that for women that's like in the field in their career, do they have to really concern about that if they're let's say they're looking to settle down, that their mate might take on their debt? Is that something that discourages some of them in regards to
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, I think that's to me, that's the one thing we cannot escape is debt and death. Somehow, somewhere, we're going to experience both of them. Let's be realistic. Majority of us are not born with a silver spoon in our mouth. Some of us have had to, endure some hard times to get where we were. I know I had to. So I'm speaking from experience. But yes, being able to control your debt as an individual before you enter a relationship is very valuable. I personally would not recommend anyone who took out any student loans to think about creating a family until you've created a debt-free plan with those student loans. That's an unrealistic goal. For you to stay at home. Yeah, well, I'm just saying, for you to stay at home and be married to someone, and now you have, let's just throw a number out there, $65,000 in debt. He's making, let's just, a realistic number, he's making, let's just say, $80,000 a year. You have $65,000 in debt, and that's probably about $600-700 a month in payments for student loans. You guys don't have it. And you definitely don't have it to be thinking about children and having additional mouths to feed. A family is the last thing you should be considering when you have $65,000 in debt. The family is the last thing. Having children is the last thing that should be on your mind. Getting out of debt should be the first one.
And it's interesting, and I don't want to reference a content that y'all familiar with, T.R.S. He mentioned about, say, if let's say a man is either making, let's say, 50, 60, or even, let's say, over six figures. Some of them always keep back in mind, said, some of you ladies do go to school, and either you finish or not, you're going to accumulate debt, regardless of what degree you got your that you accumulate this debt for. And a man has to really compensate that. And not saying a man that's doing real well, that making real money, won't do that, but he always got to keep in mind, say, you already come in the hole. And you look for somebody to get you out of the hole. And like always, you said, Mrs. Black, you should try at least get your debts in control as best as possible before you even go into, thinking of, looking to find a mate, getting married, and possibly having kids. Especially a man that's going to marry.
Chaos, can I say something real quick?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Black.
Yeah, so my wife made a great point, and you're leaning on a point, and I just wanted to add to it. So I want everyone to know it is possible to graduate without student loan debt. So one of the things that allows my wife and I to enjoy a lifestyle that our peers don't enjoy is because we both graduated college at the exact same time together in the same graduation from the same school with no debt, because we allowed our military service to pay for our college. So we graduated college and the military paid for our whole degree. And we both have over $100,000 degree. Our degree for the average person would have cost like $120,000. It's like, $39,000 a year to go to our school. Yeah, easily $100,000, maybe $120,000. And we served in the military honorably, and we allowed the military to pay for our schooling. And I told my daughter, who's currently an active duty military person, I said, you have two choices. In high school, I said, you have two choices. You can get a scholarship or you can go to the military. And that's the two choices that everyone has. I know a lot of people try to pretend, and you and I talked about this already, I like to reiterate, a lot of people pretend the military is not for everyone. That's not true. You know what shouldn't be for everyone? Student loan debt shouldn't be for everyone, and everyone has it. So I don't want to hear anyone tell me about how the military is not for you, because you made an option, you made a different choice to have student loan debt that's crippling. Their number one and number two things that causes bankruptcy in America are student loans, number two, and health care, number one. So clearly you can get yourself into debt. And so don't tell me that an option that is open to you is not an option so that you can take a bad option, which is getting into student loan debt. The same academics, the same brain power that you use to go to a university and graduate and get that student loan debt is the same brain power you could use for the military. The only difference is, like my daughter is learning right now, the military pays you for that brain power. You get a check on day one in the military, whereas as a regular college student, you ain't getting no check. The college is never going to pay you diddly squat. All they're going to do is take your money for decades to come. If you graduate from a Division I college with $100,000, let's just say $50,000, you're going to be paying that $50,000 back for 15 years. $100,000, you're going to be paying it back for 30, 40 years.
Oh, wow.
So yes, that's how long it takes a normal person. Absolutely. It takes a person. That's why bankruptcy, second cause of bankruptcy is student loan debt, because people are paying it for decades with an S, not just 10 years, for 20, 30, 40 years. And that's because we're telling ourselves these ridiculous things like the military is not for everybody. The military is for everybody who doesn't want to have student loan debt. And if you can manage it without it, I will admit there's more than one way than just the military. You can also read Dave Ramsey's book. I'm going to plug it because he has a very conservative, very hardcore methodology on how to get your debt under control. So my wife just said, if you have student loan debt, you're going into a relationship, you just got married, you should work on that debt before you have children. Dave Ramsey, I'm sure, would agree. Now, he's the type of person that says have a bunch of kids because he's very ultra-religious. Religion is not interesting to me. The point is how you manage your debt. And his book explains how to get your debt under control. And like my wife said, have the right plan. We all need to have plans, but we also need to have the right plans at the right time. And if you just got married and you both have student loans, your first plan should be how to get rid of those student loans before you bring children into this world. I'll give it back to you two and your wonderful interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Blaque. Thank you. And like I said, this is something that we did cover, Dr. Blaque, and now when I look at it, that your wife is giving real honest clarity that, it is the role of not only the man but the woman. If you're carrying on like that, you should try to expunge that as much as possible, depending on your degree. Now, we all know most degrees, if you remember, Dr. Blaque, you remember, what was the top degree that most of people take? It's not any in the three areas that say if you're taking loan, this is more effective paying off a debt at a more better rate than take some little minor frivolous bachelor's degree in some low-level skill that's really.
I don't remember the top degree. I remember we were talking about different degree fields, and we all know I had mentioned that if you get a bachelor's in art, if you get a BA, if you get an art, singing, music, all of those degrees don't pay. Even if you get a music degree and you're going to, most likely you're a teacher. The few people who are the highest end with music degrees are people who, they are singing on Broadway or they're into acting and so on, and they have student loan debt for all those years before they become an A-list actor or a B-list actor and they get their first big six-figure payoff. But most people aren't actors. Most people aren't in the entertainment world. Most people with those regular degrees go right into the work field, and they're your local elementary school music teacher, middle school music teacher, high school music teacher, making $40,000 a year, and they're going to definitely be in debt for the next 40 years paying back that degree. So I forgot what we said were the highest paying, but I do know right now, currently the highest paying degrees are anything engineering.
Yep.
Of course, medical doctors have to do 12 whole years. So you're not even talking about a bachelor. So that's a different category when you're doing 12 years to become a doctor. So that's a different category. But if you do anything engineering, including the engineers that my wife works with 24/7, with NASA, you do anything electrical engineering, but you could also do robotics and those degrees in robotics engineering, basically STEM. STEM is where you get paid. I was telling a young person this the other day. I'm in a mentorship group. Get a STEM degree. I say this to all the ladies. Get a STEM degree. Women are so great at school. Get a STEM degree. Stop getting these traditional degrees in nursing and music and art. They don't pay. Get a STEM degree where you're going to get paid possibly, six figures in your first 5 years. That way you don't have to worry about your student loan debt as much, and you can set yourself up for that family that you want.
All right. Mrs. Blaque, you there?
I'm here.
Yeah. Let me take this first call before we continue the conversation. All right, caller, I hope you're line. Who's this?
Hey, Gary. How are you? This is Mr.
I'm
Solution.
Good.
How are you?
How are you doing, Mr. Solutions?
Great. Look, I agree with what the gentleman just said, with a couple of addendums. People in the medical field, they can look at going to another country. The American Medical Association plays a game with people, and they jack up the price of becoming a physician. The other thing is, now, I had some student loan debt, but I was able to negotiate it with them and pay it off. I called up the lender. Now, that was a few years ago, but, it wasn't a whole lot, but it was some. And I wasn't cognizant that it takes 40 years. I knew it took half that time. So student loan is a major issue, and I think I heard him say that student loans and medical debt is the major cause of bankruptcy. I think I heard him say that. But he's right. Student loan debt is horrific, and it's over $1 trillion. I mean, it just makes people go crazy, with all that debt. Now, one of the things I propose is getting out of debt. That's very important. Sometimes you may have to work a couple of jobs, and if you offer them a certain amount of money, they will reduce it. If you negotiate it with them, I don't know if he will concur with that or if he has spoken on that, but I know that's possible. I did it, and I know other people have done it. But he's right. Debt is a killer. It's the major cause of health problems, believe it or not, because the stress of debt looms over one's head, and it's something that they constantly deal with. So those were just a few points I wanted to share. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, so we agree. I totally agree with the caller, Mr. Solutions. We agree with. I don't have any complaints with him. I did say that student loan debt is the number 2 right after medical debt. Those bankruptcy Americans. But I was saying the only difference that we have is he has a plan after the fact where if you get into student loan debt, he says get some jobs, work with Fannie Mae, get out of it. My solution, if I may, is just a different solution. And I admit, I respect people's point that the military is not for everyone. But my solution is figure it out before you get into student loan debt, before you go to college, before you sign the papers, before you do the application, before you have that debt looming. Understand your plan to get out of that debt. And that's pretty much what Dave Ramsey would say, who is the leading he's not an official financial advisor, but he's a leading in the genre of financial advice to Americans. He has the best-selling book. He's worth over $100 million. I think he's closer to $200 million. He's a best-selling author 10 times over. So his whole thing is have a plan before, and that's what I'm adopting. I don't agree with everything he says, but I'm telling people, you're in high school, you have children in high school, set the plan out with them before you sign, because that's what you do in the rest of your life, right? When you're going to go buy a car, you plan you budget for that car. You don't just say, all right, I'm going to buy a car and hope for the best and I'll pay it whenever I can. That's not how it works. So why do we have a whole system where we tell kids to go to college and figure out how to pay it after the fact? How much sense does that make? So me and Mr. Solutions agree, get that debt paid. I'm just saying you'll have more success getting it paid when you plan ahead. My solution was to go to the military and let them pay for it. Another solution, I told my daughter, get a college scholarship. And to one last correction, he was saying he didn't know it was more than 20 years to pay it back. If you go to a Division I university like LSU, my daughter was looking at that. Well, we were out of D.C. So if you go to LSU out of D.C., guess what? You're out of state. So guess what that is? You're going to be paying out of state. You know how much out of state for LSU is?
I can imagine it's almost $20,000 extra. Maybe?
It's $38,000 a year, 2019. $38,000 a year.
Wow.
It's not okay. There's nothing okay about that. So you're looking at $120,000 debt. So I'm like, no, I'm good. We're straight. I don't need that in my life. But I told my daughter, if you want to go there, you have to have gotten a scholarship. She didn't get a full ride, so she ended up going to the military. And guess what? When if she decides to go to LSU and let the military pay for it, she'll have zero. She'll be paying zero out-of-pocket costs, at least for her bachelor's degree. So I would much rather zero versus $120,000.
Okay.
Yeah, Gary,
All right.
I have one other comment, if that's okay.
Yeah, I want to continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with the gentleman 100%. I would just add, again, a codicil, and that is he spoke about the military. I've often said that very thing myself. The only thing is that the military is kind of squirrely. Now, it'll chew you up and spit you out. It'll grind you to powder. That's the culture of the military. But what I would say regarding the military, I would say make sure you get it in writing, whatever field you're going to pursue. And the other thing in the military, unlike civilian life, attitude and character plays a huge role. If you got to be in good with your company commander, which I was. And they, like he said, it's beautiful. It's a sweetheart deal. That is, your company commander will allow you a certain amount of time on military time to actually pursue your education. I think one has to keep at least a C average. Many of your airline pilots, because flight school is so expensive, they either get training in the military, whether it's Navy, Marines, whatever, but they have to give a few years to the service in order to compensate them for that huge benefit, as it were. But I would say in the military, you have to keep your nose clean. You have to learn military culture, and you can't get into trouble. Otherwise, those particular benefits are off the table. I'm sorry, I don't know your guest's name. I didn't hear his name, but I think it's good
Dr.
to speak
Blaque.
on that too. One has to be very disciplined in the military. You can't get an Article 50.
Excuse me. I just want to say, as a person who served in the military, a person who's a professional, wouldn't that mindset apply to any profession? Being on time. The military, not as much. Still doesn't mean it does not apply. Right. And what I mean by saying that, I don't know too many professions where you don't have to accountability, meaning you don't have to, unless you're an entrepreneur, that's a whole different category that we're talking about. But I'm talking about those people who have to work, for a living, who work for somebody else. You have accountability. You have to be there at a particular time. You have most jobs have a particular dress code, if not all jobs. The military is no different than any other job. It all depends on my concept, and this is strictly me, how you look at it. When I was in the military, it was a means to an end from my childhood and transition to adulthood. So I didn't look to the military as a bad thing. It was better than the situation I was in, and it gave me the tools. And I already had accountability. I had, jobs before I went into the military. But the military taught me that accountability, that showing up, being present, being coachable. Those things are highly encouraged and highly favorable in the civilian world. And that's why a lot of civilian companies prefer a person who was in the military, because you already have that mindset. It's not something I have to teach you. And that's something that college doesn't necessarily teach you. No professor's ever calling you and telling you you have a 9 a.m. class. They don't care if you're there or not. They get paid whether you're there or not. The military teaches you the consequences of your actions. If you're not here at the time that we agreed upon, then there's consequences. That's throughout life. The military teaches you life lessons, and if you're willing to learn them, they take you far. Now, when it comes to politics and stuff like that, listen, you don't have to engage in those things. Yes, some of those things you can avoid, but if you go in there with a plan like you do anything else in your life, hey, our oldest daughter, she's 21 years old. She did 6 years. Why did she do 6 years? One, it gave her extra pay going in, gave her an extra leg up, gave her more money in her pocket, gives her a better chance at succeeding at her job because she's already there in a senior airman position. So those things are helping her. 6 years, you don't have to do no more than 6 years. That is a plan. So within those 6 years, what are you going to do outside? How is your job going to translate into the civilian work? She's already understanding how to be on time, how to be present, how to be coachable, how to be respectable. Those things are important that the military teaches you that you learn while getting paid. You can't beat that. You can't beat that.
Mm-hmm. So what you say, Ms.
And I would say for those who say it's hard, you have to ask yourself, why was it hard? Why was it hard? What made the military so hard for you? And if you take personal accountability, you would say some of those things I could have changed, not the military. It wasn't the military, it was me. Personal accountability is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, Mrs. Blaque. And one thing that I like about the military, and I'm not sure if I tell you this, I told Paco this, Cheyenne. There was something that I have two friends that were part military, and they wrote what they call the Great Faulkner Initiative. And it's a plan of action. For mostly it was written for men, but also women could apply it same way. That there's a strategy plan that they want a set of our people to be in certain industries, so that way to really change the political climate for people that's been here in America for centuries, that you have to be into institutions of power. The three branches of institutions that stay and will always remain in power and function if any collapse happen is the military, police, firefighter, and we could say EMT. So most of our people, because we don't harvest those other three, we could harbor the military because most of our freedoms was granted by serving in the military. And one thing that puts clarity what I'm saying, a book called American Negro Slave Revolts, there was a section, a sentence saying that most Negroes that fought under the government, like fought in military, were granted freedom. So it lets you know, say, that's where most of our people should be on in mass numbers. If you want freedom, you need to be in the highest of all institutions, which is the military.
And you know what? If I can piggyback off of that, the military goes straight into, if you look at EMTs, all first responders, 50% of them are prior military. 50% of first responders, firefighters, police officers, EMTs, are veterans. We know that the VA keeps a record. A lot of people talk about it. If you ever go to their have groups, they talk about it. Secondly, if you look at the politics section, so you're going, let's say, if you're in the military, we'll be in the middle. If you go laterally to first responders, but let's say you go higher, because the people who are in charge of the military based on our Constitution are the civilian oversight. So you look at civilian oversight, politicians and government positions, 50% of them are veterans. If you look at them, they talk about it every time they run for office. I served in this, I served in that. I'm a Vietnam era veteran. I'm a Colin Powell just passed away. We talk about all these other new age people who are a Gulf War, not the first Gulf War, second Gulf War, Iraq War veterans. That's a big thing. So the military, like you're saying, according to your friend's books, the branches we need to be in, the industries we need to be in, the military is a stepping stone to all of those industries, from military straight into first responders, police officers, firefighters, EMTs, or up into politicians. And government workers. It's a stepping stone. So we need to stop saying the military is not for me, because it's giving so many people the power, like you're talking about, to do what they need to do. It doesn't have to be for life. It can be a stepping stone. Mr. Solutions has a concern that you have to be friends with or you have to be good with your company commander. When he served, it was different. In the 2020s, all you have to do is show up for work on time, do what you're told quietly, and you don't even have to do any extra because it's a VA benefit. It's called a post-9/11 GI Bill. Yes, you can go to school during your military time. It's called TA, tuition assistance. They give you a couple semesters while you're at work. But if you don't do any time on active duty and you get out and you can go take your post-9/11 GI Bill and get your whole degree afterwards, so even if you didn't like your company commander, even if you weren't getting along in the military, just get an honorable and get your post 9/11, and they literally pay you cash. They pay you money and send you to school for free. You cannot beat it, whether you like your company or not. So these options exist today. And your friends wrote a book on how we should be there. So that's more to my point that I'm saying. Don't say the military is not for everyone. see if it's for you. If you don't have a medical condition to stop you, you have no excuses.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I want to add to that saying, and this is my own personal way of looking at it. It's a joke. My family always says I have a little bit of a dark humor. But we were, as African Americans, we were promised 40 acres and a mule. I don't know about you, but I know I have not met anybody in my family in generations who ever got their 40 acres and a mule. What we can do is make sure that we don't enter this world at a disadvantage, meaning student debt,
Correct.
student loan debt. You know what I'm saying? And if that means that you have to serve the country or do whatever you need to do to get your financial, let's quote unquote, freedom from student loan debt, 4 years, that's nothing. That's nothing. And you get paid while you're doing it. And that's the greatest caveat. You get paid while you're doing it, you get free medical. You know, of course you pay for it, but it's provided to you. You have access to it. We have to change the way we look at things and make it, instead of looking at the negatives or the what happens, let's look at the positives. What are the things I can get from these things? Both of my daughters, my youngest one, 13 years old, our youngest one's 13 years old, she's already conditioned in the minds of the military because she understands that. She knows what financial freedom, in a sense, of no student loan debt, being able to have disposable income and do things looks like, because her parents don't have any student loan debt.
Right. And Gary, one follow-up point, if I may.
Mr. Solutions, I have to take this next call. So if
Sure.
you want, you can raise your hand. Let me take this other call. See who else this is. All right. Thank you. All right, caller, open line. Who's this?
This is Miss Lady. I've just been listening. This is a very interesting topic.
Okay.
About the
Do you have
military.
questions? Well, actually, it's really the title.
Well,
if you didn't
what's the title?
The title, Miss Lady, is Professionalism and Wife. Let me make sure. I should know the name of it. It's titled Professional versus Stay-at-Home Wife. Stay-at-home Woman. Is there a difference? Meaning, yeah. So that's the real focus of the show.
Okay, then I just want to say one thing about the military, because I know someone who got his bachelor's degree from a top school, a public school. Then he went into the Navy, and he served, how many times you have a year? I'm not sure how many years you got to be in the Navy. But he got out, like after 4 or 5 years. He's now in dental school, his 3rd year. His dental education is being totally paid for. He has no student loan debt. He's going to be graduating soon. He gets a monthly check or something, and because he lives in a very expensive city, he actually gets quite a bit of money so that he can pay his rent and have money left over. And that's what being 4 or 5 years in the Navy did for him. So it's either, you can, and it wasn't all peaches and cream either. But he had a plan, and he knew what he was in there to do. And, that's financial freedom. He's going to make good money coming out, no debt. And, he's on his way, going to be on his way. But in terms of stay-at-home mom or professional women, both of it's work. It's hard work. And I take my hat off to stay-at-home mothers. That's a job. That's a job and a half. And not everybody's cut out to do it. I'm going to be honest. That's it's a 24/7 job, no days off, unless you have someone that that can babysit for you sometimes. It's continuous. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of children, seeing after the social calendar, the birthday parties, the this, the that, all of that. Shopping, housework, reminding people of appointments, making appointments for folks. It's not an easy job. And if you're going to do it well and not sit your kids in front of a TV set all day, if you're going to do it the right way, I take my hat off to those mothers. And I've seen the results of good mothering, but they had a husband with good resources, so they didn't have to worry about the finances. That makes all the difference.
I'm going to say this to you and to all the people out there. If you do not have, if your significant other does not have the resources, staying home, being a stay-at-home mom is not ideal. You're financially, you're putting your family in a bind that's unnecessary, especially if you've made a plan, you have some type of career, some type of monetary contributions to the household. But I don't believe that to stay at home also means to struggle. That they don't go together.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree. I mean, I'm a professional person. I have a sister who's an attorney. I have, there's very professional people in my family. My mother was a registered nurse. She worked. So I understand all of that. However, I've seen where the woman, particularly one whose husband is a physician, he makes very good money. And she was fortunate so that when her children were younger, she was a registered nurse, she could stay with her children. Her children were exposed to everything you can think of. When they were 5 years old, they were on computers, and people didn't even have computers. And foreign languages, golf, swimming, tennis, vacation, just exposed to so much. Now, one is a physician, and the other one, she got her master's in something, I forget, but she's doing well. So I have
a question to you.
Older,
after those professional women
got older, hold on, when the children got older, she went back and got, I think, a master's degree, and she's teaching part-time. But she said it didn't make sense for her. It was a joint decision to continue to work part-time because they were just giving the money to the IRS. So they go together. They're very wealthy. They're very happy. Their children are successful. It worked for them because they were on the same page.
And that's where it is. And that is the key point: communication, making sure that you and your significant other on the same page and have a plan and goals. I don't believe you should be a stay-at-home mother forever. I think you should be a stay-at-home mother to the kids. Go to school and then do something that. And let's be clear, working or having hobbies, active hobbies, keeps us healthy. It's for your own personal health. It has nothing really to do with your significant other. That's why I say hobbies can also be part of that. You're staying at home and you're doing, other things, but you need to do things for your own personal health, and getting up and being active and doing something, having accountability, responsibility every day. It's the most logical and healthy thing to do.
All right, Miss Lady.
I agree. You should have your own
Miss Lady?
thing, as well.
Miss Lady.
You're always cutting me off. Bye.
No, don't do that. Don't be disrespectful, please. Respect the show. Respect me as the guest. I don't mind taking on your line, Miss Lady, but you do this every night, and it's very disgusting to me. I mean, we're here to have the conversation. If I was going to say something, I was going to say, I want to take the next line. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, Miss Lady. Please, don't do that to me. But anyway, we're going to move on because we're not going to let that be a distraction. Oh, the call number for tonight's show, sorry about that, people, is 717-908-1834, access code 917-324-pound. I repeat, 717-908-1834, access code 917-324-pound. Tonight's subject, T.R.S. presents professional versus stay-at-home woman. What is the difference? With Mrs. Blaque. One thing before I take the next call, to ask you, Mrs. Blaque, do you, I would say no, not believe, that today's modern women don't really know to really balance between work and at home? if they ever know how to, or they just don't really desire to really learn how to. If they are like married and they still work a job, do you think they really have a real clear understanding how to really balance between the two? That's my question.
You can, yes, you can have I think you can do it. I go back to communication. What does work-life balance look like in your relationship? It's not a individual's responsibility to create work-life balance in a relationship. You're in a relationship with two people. What does work-life balance look like in the relationship? How do we both work collectively to achieve work-life balance? In my home, I like to cook. That's my hobby. That's my newfound hobby. I like to cook. I like things to taste a certain way. So I look up recipes. I do all kinds of stuff, but I do the cooking in my home. My husband, he washes the dishes. My husband does the laundry. I do the grilling. But it works for us. Like I said, there's no blanket work-life balance. I would say checklist for your relationship. You have to tailor it best for your relationship. I work from home. I'm home all day long. So most of the time I'm doing a lot of, little things at home, getting the food ready, to be prepped or making sure, the baby comes home on the bus on time. And I do those little things because I'm at home. However, if I wasn't at home, we would communicate how we.
Hold on. Is that on my phone? Wait, hold on a second. Is that my phone?
It looks.
Hold on. Wait, Paco, you there? Paco? Hello? Y'all hear that?
Yes, I heard that now.
What is that? Paco, you there? Is that a interruption? Look, some interruption.
I don't know what that was. I never heard that before.
That sounded like an interruption, like somebody listened to this line or something, because that's an interruption. Could that just pause the whole? You might have to repeat that, Mrs. Black. That's weird.
Oh, okay. So I was saying, I don't know what's all her, but I was saying that the concept of work-life balance needs to be identified and how it looks between whoever is in the relationship. It's both partners' responsibility to communicate what work-life balance looks like in their relationship and how each one can contribute to achieve it successfully. So it is, in short answer, yes, it is possible for the modern-day woman to have work-life balance, but it is impossible if she does not communicate it with her partner and they come to some type of agreement. In a relationship, if you're single, it doesn't matter, but if you're in a relationship, that's something that you guys need to communicate. And I'm starting to find more and more that a lot of relationships lack communication from the beginning, from the start. You don't wait till problems arise before you start communicating. You communicate things ahead of time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Let me see who else raised their hand. And I apologize, kids. If y'all heard that, I don't know what that is. So
I raised my hand.
Yeah. All right, caller, open your line. Who's this?
Yeah, Gary, this is Solution again. Did you mean to open my line?
Yeah, you raised your hand, so I'm not sure if you have another question before I could.
Well, I wanted to add, because I was particularly triggered by this student loan debt, and I dealt with that, and I had a few more suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if this has been referenced, but a lot of companies like Walmart, Amazon, P&G, GE, General Electric, they have internships, and that's a way for a person to get on the fast track to management. Now, a lot of time, and even in the government, in the U.S. government, people have to be willing to move, but that virtually eliminates debt, especially in terms of an advanced degree. But that is I think, a wonderful way to get training. And, because you enter as an intern and they train you per their corporation's personality and that sort of thing. So I just think that's something that's phenomenal for a person to look into. And sometimes they will actually pay off all or a great portion of one's student loan.
Okay. Didn't know that. You know, I remember one of my family members did mention that if you work for a corporation, they would help pay off the student loan. But usually I don't really bank on that because that sometimes it's not always given or guaranteed, depending on what career you're choosing. You know, not saying it's a bad idea, but like me, like any person, I always like to go for institutions that will, like Paco and me talk about, that will pay while you learn. Then, you know, just hopefully that you go to a job and they find they like what you do, and they will eventually pay the rest of your tuition. I want to take that route in the long term because let's be honest, most corporations, if they're not going to take anybody that's intern that is going to hire and pay off your debt, that's not possible for the long run for anybody that's, you know, working a job or working onto their career job. So, but it's good. It's good if you get it.
Mr. Chaos?
Yes, go ahead.
So the question was, can women manage their professional life with the home life? And of course women can. And my wife said it's about communication, and that's important. But I'm concerned about advocating for, I'm not a fan of the idea of stay-at-home moms. I know people like to say, stay-at-home moms is a really hard job. It's really difficult. It's really important. And, I mean, I guess. But it's not 1960 anymore. You and I and my wife are a part of the first generation of children who raise their damn self. So I'm not buying this, how critically important it is for a person to stay home and raise a kid, because we weren't afforded that. People can't tell us about our experiences. No one can tell you about your experience. People can listen to your experience, accept it or not. So no one can tell me who experienced raising myself. My wife calls it being a latchkey kid. We're the first children who had a key to the house and came home and taught ourselves how to do our own homework and learn how to cook extra young with no one to teach us. We just kind of picked up the pieces together, and we did everything until our parents got home late at night because they had to work all day. No one can tell me that today's children have to have a stay-at-home mom when we're a generation of people 2 generations ago who didn't have that. So then if we know for a fact that it's not a requirement, yes, it would be better. Obviously, it's better to have a parent in the household. But it used to be a requirement. Before the 1950s, it was a standard way of thinking for the culture. Now, it's not standard. So now it's a choice you could make. You have an option. It's not set in stone. So now that we know you have a choice, I can't see how I'm going to encourage my daughters to be like, you know what, you ever thought about being a stay-at-home mom? I can't see it. I can't see it because I don't see the benefits of it. You have to tell me why on earth anyone would want to stay at home instead of going to work. And I say it's about power. We're in a capitalist society, like you said. You got to pay the cost to be the boss. Why would a woman say, I want my man to be the boss and I just stay at home and do whatever he comes up with? Or why would you say, I need to be defined by what a man calls me if a man calls me his wife? Like, why is that a thing? Why aren't you defined by your profession like everybody else? Are we going to act like we don't know that everyone is defined by their profession? Everyone asks you, what do you do? What is it you do? I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a teacher, I'm a singer, I'm a dancer, I'm an electrical engineer. So why would you say I'm a stay-at-home mom? Why is that an acceptable definition of you and what you do? Why aren't you saying I'm a lawyer or a doctor like everybody else? And this is the real thing that I keep thinking about. Once you raise your kids, everybody knows you have 2.5 kids. Americans have 2.5 kids. So once you raise those 2.5 kids after daggone, 17 years, then what? 20 years, then what? You're going to be alive, hopefully, longer than that. Then what are you going to be? After you raise your kids and you're a stay-at-home mom, what are you then? Yeah, so I understand you can do it. I understand that you can be it. I understand it's an option, and I respect human beings inherently. What I don't see is the value. I think whether you admit it, or whether you respect stay-at-home moms or not, you can't put the same value on it. And I think we need to talk about this. You cannot put the same value on being a stay-at-home mom that you used to when a stay-at-home mom was a requirement. Today's women can choose it, and very few of them can choose it, but you can choose it. And what's the point of you choosing it? Why would you choose that? What have you accomplished by choosing to be a stay-at-home mom? What benefits do you get being a stay-at-home mom versus being a lawyer, being a doctor, being an electrical engineer, being a logistician or a lead logistician at NASA? How is being a stay-at-home mom better than that? I don't see it at all, and I would need someone to tell me that before they tell me that I should tell other young ladies to do this, because as it stands, when I mentor, I'm not telling any girls to be a stay-at-home mom, because the other point is you're giving up your power. And so you may or may not agree, but you're giving up your power. You give up that power to your partner, man or woman, and what did you get in exchange for that power? You got to hang out at the house? Why is that so great? I just don't see it. Why is that so great?
To add to that, I would say your financial stability. Let's talk about finances. They're very important. And we talk of 2 out of 3 marriages end in divorce, nowadays. But we always don't talk about, unfortunately, women or spouses who become widowed for whatever reason. COVID has taught us a lot of different things. You need to be able to take care of self, and that's important. Financially, take care of self, because you don't plan on, when you get married, 1, you don't plan on getting divorced. 2, you don't plan on your spouse, dying, passing on before time. So financial stability, I would say from experience, my grandfather died almost 30 years ago. And he put my grandma in the position where she didn't have to work. However, this day and age, a lot of spouses don't put their spouse in a position to where they don't have to continue working, once they pass on. So that's something also. If you're a widow at 30, let's just say 35, male or female, how are you going to take care of yourself? How are you going to feed yourself? How are you going to continue living maybe 40 or 50 years with self? How are you going to provide for self? Being a professional, having something to identify you, having something to allow you to make money, to feed yourself, to take care of yourself is important. It's one of those things where you can't survive without money. You'll be homeless. You'll not have food. You'll not have shelter. Working is important. Having a profession is important that earns you an income. People, money's not everything. Money is everything. Without money, what do you have? Love. You can't. You can't. I've never been able to call any electric company and say, "Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pay this month's balance in love."
Hold on, I got something for that. And it goes back to show that in this capitalist world, and I'm not saying people should be striving to get rich. I said make as much money you can while you still.
Why not get rich? Why not? I work for NASA, so why not aim for the moon? If you don't make it, you'll fall upon a star. Why not aim? Why not live out your best life, your best potential? Why be mediocre in this life? Why? What is the point? What do you get out of being average? Nobody ever remembers number 2 and number 3. They only remember number 1. If you're not number 1, if your goals are not number 1 in your life, nobody else is going to recognize it. You have to live your best life. You have to go out there and give it your all. You only get one life. You don't get to look back and say, I wish I could have. When it's that time, it's over. And people say, well, money's not everything. What they're saying is I don't want to do the hard work in order to get the money I want. I don't want to do the hard work to get the material things I want. That's what they're saying without saying it. That's what they don't understand what they're saying. Because you've never heard a rich person ever say money's not everything. Money's not everything.
Oh, yeah.
You've never heard them say that. You don't hear them say that because they know money buys things. Money buys power. Money buys influence. Who does not? I mean, we're conditioned. So for whatever reason, we as a society, and I don't want to get into the race, but we as society, as African Americans, we're always taught that just give it a try. No, give it your all, every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's how I live. Like that's how I operate.
Mhm. 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 And you know, and a lot of people don't know much of your background. You came from a very rough beginnings, Ms. Dr. Blaque. If you'd have told the stories all over again, people would have a more understanding. You know.
I do come from I come from a harder life. I'm a baby of the '80s. Now, my mom was one of those women. You know, she was not listening, but shout out to Grandma. She worked 38 years. She's retired. I mean, when I say retired, she has a pension. She doesn't collect Social Security. She's not old enough yet, but she has a pension. And one thing I learned from her is money is important, especially if you have children. You got to be able to feed them, clothe them. Unfortunately, she was not a single parent. You know, there was a father figure in the home, but my mother was a breadwinner. And I know the type of struggle she had to go through to make ends meet. And you know, that's not my story to her, but I lived a hard life because we were a one-income home. I lived a hard life unnecessarily. And because of that, I said, I knew at a very early age, and that's why I went to the military. I started planning my escape plan from California, Sacramento, California, where I'm from, when I was 14 years old. I started planning my escape plan. I already had it in my mind how I was going to break the cycle, the poverty cycle, how I was going to break it. And one of those things was I knew I needed to go to college. I didn't know how to pay for it. And that's where the military, all they will pay for, stay less. And the rest is history. But I understood from a very early age that you had to have a plan, execute a plan, and you have to work hard at your plan. If you want anything out of life, you have to work hard for it. My husband, he laughs. I work extremely hard at my job. I do, and I make a really good salary. But I make that salary because I work hard. My work ethic speaks for itself. And I carry my profession. A lot of women don't have the type of passion, or they should have the type of passion. My job defines me. I am defined as a professional. I like being a professional. It gives me power. As a woman, a black woman, Hidden Figures, I work for NASA. I am a department lead. That is powerful in itself. My daughter gets to, as a brown girl, get to say that her mother, you know what I'm saying, to me, that's empowering. I was a stay-at-home mom for a little while. I didn't get empowerment. I got gray hairs and stress. That's what I got. Because I didn't have anything to define me, and being a mom does not define me. I was put on this earth to be more than just a mother. And I knew I wasn't going to settle for less. My daughters know they're not going to settle for less. We have a rule. You don't even consider marriage until you're 30. He may be a great guy, but 30 is when you consider marriage, because you need to have your career. You need to have who you are, how you are going to be defined as a professional before you get into a serious relationship, before you commit to marriage. Because marriage in itself is a whole other conversation, but it's work. You got to show up every day. You got to show up every day and commit to being 100%. Not 50%. You got to commit to being 100% in a relationship. So you got your professional job, and then you have your marriage, and then you also have being a mother. So, yes, being a professional is extremely important. It teaches you leadership. It teaches you decision-making, things that you need for your relationship and being a parent. Professionalism is wrapped up into a whole bunch of different things if you look at it like that. People are just kind of blase going through life. You have to, like I say again, have a plan for your life.
One thing I would say.
Can I ask a question to Mrs. Blaque?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
I don't, like I was saying earlier, I'm not a fan of the, stay-at-home mom. And I think part of the reason that I'm not a fan is because I feel like stay-at-home moms, as important as it is to raise kids, that's not debatable. I feel like a lot of stay-at-home moms want to stay at home because they find it to be easier than facing the world. A lot of black women, a lot of women in general, I'm a feminist, so I study what women say about life. But a lot of professional women in general say, hey, dealing with men, being in the male-dominated industry is beyond stressful because, I don't get taken seriously, but I have to daggone deal with this and that and the third. So I can understand how some people are like, hey, this is too hard. Now, Mrs. Black, do you find that professional women are obfuscating the responsibility to be that professional, trying to duck and hide from it because they find it too hard, or they're to an extent, and I don't want to be rude, but we know some people in this world are lazy. Do you think some of them are lazy? Do you think that's what it is, that they're like, hey, this is easier than going out there and dealing with the crap every day? It's easier to deal with my own kids and put them in check and spank them or whatever it is that I got to do. It's easier to do that than it is to be a professional and deal with the whole stuff. What do you think about that, Ms. Black? Because I don't want to be rude, but I feel that that's a big part of how some women are making their decision about being a stay-at-home mom. And if you look at it, like, let's say you look at social media, he pays for this, he pays for that. A lot of women will say, he pays for this, he pays for that, he does this and that for me, as if that's the thing. So they're like, well, I don't want to get out there and handle my own business. He's going to pay for this, that, and the third. It feels like, am I the only one? It feels a little lazy, right? Or am I overstepping my boundaries?
Okay. I would say that, yes, first of all, being a professional is hard. And being a living up to your highest potential, what I mean by is, your leadership, your communication, all that stuff when it comes to working. Yes, that stuff is hard. It is. So I don't want to say that it's lazy, but I would say it's a mediocre attitude. And I say that to say that, yes, it is an easier job. Some people say, yeah, it's hard work, but it's also hard work having your voice in a room full of men who say you don't belong. That's hard. That's hard work. That's really hard. I would say that, yes, it is easy for somebody else to take care of you. It is easy for somebody to make decisions for you, but who wants that? Who wants that type of control? And to those who do it, hey, whatever. I'm not for it. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it to my daughters. I don't recommend it to my associates. I don't recommend it to my friends. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend you giving that type of control to anyone. I don't believe in following anyone blindly. I don't believe in following anything blindly. You shouldn't. And allowing somebody to control basically your personal growth, in a sense, is a staying at home is stunts your personal growth, So, but that's just me. I prefer to work because I have very costly habits and hobbies that I like, that I don't feel it's my husband, i.e. you, responsibility. Even though you do that and more, I like to do things for you. I don't see any benefits to being a stay-at-home mom. I would say, and there's a caveat, I would say, if you don't want the first year, you want to take off a year from work and stay home and be there to, let's say nurse your child or be there for those, the first steps, or, you don't want the childhood sicknesses. I get that, but I don't think it's a long-term professional goal or career. It should never be. And the reason why I say this, because we always say the term stay-at-home mom. There's a lot of stay-at-home dads, but why are there not more stay-at-home dads? Because let's be very clear. There are women, i.e. myself, who can afford to have a stay-at-home husband. I can afford to not have my husband work. No, listen, I'm flexing all day long. I can afford to have my husband stay at home.
Let me do this.
That is a fact. That is a true thing. Ask her husband. I confirm that.
Guys, hold on.
My husband can be a stay-at-home. He can be a stay-at-home dad. But let's be very clear. The reason why men are not stay-at-home fathers is because they understand you're giving up a form of control.
Mrs. Black, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you.
I know. Let everybody pause. 1 second, people. And again. Now, mind you, I'm going to get some heat for this playback. It's possible. Not say I don't care. Well, I don't really give a fuck. But I'm be honest with you. I do these broadcasts because I'm a man of chaos and order. There's some days I might go at the women, possibly. Yes, I do. And there's some days I'm going to go at you dudes. But at the end of the day, we're going to have the conversation, the uncomfortable conversations. I'm going to tell you, person, Mrs. Black, we got people in the comment section in this stream right now, and he finds it very offensive. And I'll tell the brother, Mr. ABC, please call in if you have a problem with what is said here, and voice your opinion intellectually. We'll have the conversation, brother. But anyway, continue.
I'm going to say it again. I can afford to have a stay-at-home husband. My husband can be a stay-at-home husband. He chooses not to. He doesn't want to. And the reason why he doesn't want to, thank you to my husband, he went out and purchased me my dream car, not once, not twice, but 3 times. This is the 3rd time. It's brand new. I'm the first owner. 2021 Porsche Cayenne. My husband did that. That has nothing to do with me. I can afford to have a stay-at-home husband. He does all the things he does is because he chooses to. It makes sense for me. It makes sense for me. That's the first time I think I've ever flexed that. But I can afford to have a stay-at-home husband. That feels good to me because that means that if something happens to my husband, I can take care of my family. That is important to me.
Yep.
I don't need my husband for financial stability. I love having him for financial stability. Having him for financial stability gives me a whole nother level of comfort of financial stability. But I don't rely on him to make our life what it is. I can do it on my own. And I like that. I like the fact that if my husband got hit by a car tomorrow, we don't have to miss a beat. If my husband had to take a year off, a mental break, whatever the case may be, if he said, "Baby, listen, I want to take off a year and I got a new PS5 and I just want to just play Call of Duty all day," he can do that. We're not going to hurt.
Hey, Gary, can you hear me?
That's why I'm a professional woman. I like that flex for myself.
I heard you, Mr. Solutions. I'm sorry. Usually I want people to like raise their hand. I don't mind y'all interrupting, but this is not like an open conversation. Let people know that called in. But if you raise your hand, I will open it back up. I want to keep this conversation cordial as possible. You know, I know that this is going to be triggering, and I get it. But as a man, you know, I don't get too triggered too often. Especially, you know, I find that black love, black couples working and gelling properly, and that's a lost art we find we don't see much in this society as a community enough. You get me? You two have been together for over a generation now, if I'm right, and you made it work well. And I have very few friends, Dr. Black and Mrs. Black, that are married for over 20 years and that have made it work successfully. You get me? Especially that are falling into the millennial age. This is not no Gen X.
I want to come in there. It's a decade. It's just a decade, 10 years.
Okay, well, it don't matter. Anything that's surpassed the average of people that start to file for divorce, which we know is women, is now roughly under 8 years as a whole in America. If you pass that, you're doing something good. You get me? And I think it's going to be a very everlasting marriage. Trust me, I know. Because I can feel it. I can hear it. I can see it in the sound of voice, your actions.
We want to say we appreciate that. We want to say we appreciate that. Your vote of confidence. Thank you.
Oh, no, it's not. It's a promise. And let me tell you why. Because when you know someone really is compatible and got it really gelled up, is when you see through social media. I'll be honest with you, Dr. Black, Mrs. Black, I've never seen couples show their memories, their love. I rarely see this, personally.
Dr. Black is my best friend. When I mean my best friend is, he saw me, just a little history on us. I met Dr. Black 10 years ago when I was, 13 years ago when I was in the military. And I was currently going through a divorce, and I was 8 months pregnant. And every day he used to see me walk. I used to get my exercise, like walking to the farther away bathroom. He would stop and talk to me. How am I doing? How am I feeling? Just, checking in on me. Let me know I look good. I look nice. Did I eat? Just random stuff. Then I get out the military, we go to college together. And he's always in college, do you want some snacks from the snack? He was literally genuinely my friend. Let's study together. Let's do this. Let's do that. He was genuinely my friend. When I needed him to help me in life when I was in a bad situation and help me with our precious baby girl, I need somebody to help me care for her. He was there. It was not a question. He is my friend. Before he was my fiance, before he was my lover, before he was my husband, he was truly my friend. And because we have a friendship that goes beyond a romance, we also have a mutual respect for each other. We also understand each other. We talk like friends, not just on some romantic stuff. We talk genuinely 10, 12 hours out the day about dreams and aspirations and things we can do better in our relationship, things we can do better with parenting. We talk about lots of things. So when I say that our relationship is beyond the romantic point, we are attracted intellectually. He stimulates me, I stimulate him. It's beyond just the, so a lot of people, have this whole, we're in a relationship. No, he is my best friend. When you marry your best friend, your relationship looks totally different. I mean, I didn't have to, I didn't marry him because we had children together. There was no reason other than the merging of two great CEOs of major companies. Our relationship was a merger in a sense, and it's been great. It's like, what was it? Is it T-Mobile and Sprint? The merger is it's not a hostile takeover. It was a merger. So when you do that, your relationship looks different. And I think he would say the same thing with his handsome self. I'm sorry, I just had to do that.
But Chaos, like, she's quoting parts of my book because I'm writing a relationship book. That's why you invited me on the first place, on our first interview. I'm writing a relationship book, and she is the balance of that because I have a male perspective, but I'm a feminist. And if I'm trying to help heterosexual couples thrive, I can't have an only male perspective. No matter how much of a feminist I am, I'm still not a woman. And some of my critics want to call me out as if that matters and say that I'm acting like a woman or I'm a woman because I'm a feminist, and they're ignorant. They don't understand what feminist means. It just means gender equality. But I need to have someone who is an actual woman and rely on woman experience. Anyone who's actually writing a book, taking seriously what they've done or what they're trying to accomplish, they're going to have to do research. And my wife is part of my research, and she's quoting some of my lines where I say that you have to be the CEO of your own life. Ladies, you have to be the CEO of your own life. Men know that already, so we need to tell the women that. And women, you need to be the CEO of your own life. And you can think about a company that recently merged, and you think about T-Mobile and Sprint. That's the biggest one that of recent memory. That's very popular. And I say, why did T-Mobile merge with Sprint instead of Boost Mobile? And the reason is because if Boost Mobile doesn't have what it takes to be on T-Mobile's level, so if T-Mobile had went to Boost Mobile, it would be a hostile takeover. Boost Mobile wouldn't have the power, the right, anything to have an equal partnership. And so my wife is talking about us merging and not being a hostile takeover, because a lot of people get into relationships. They get into the relationship, they're married, they're dating, whatever, and they don't have the equal power. So it's a hostile takeover. One person is the dominant, one person is submissive. I don't believe in that. And I didn't offer that to my wife because that's not what I wanted. That's not what I had to offer. I offered her a partnership, T-Mobile and Sprint, and we are equals. She can afford to keep me home. I could afford to keep her home. But what we're really doing is stacking on top of stacking on top of stacking. The way I got her a 2021 Porsche Cayenne, her third Porsche, she told me 5 years ago what her dream car was, and for the last 4 years she's had it. And that's because I only have 2 bills. Can you believe this? I have 2 bills. I have 2 bills. My wife is a professional woman. I have 2 bills. The mortgage and the car. And she won't let me buy a second car because she's like, I work from home, so we're not going to waste the money. So I said, okay, respect. That's my queen. I'm not going to buy a second car. I'm just going to buy one hell of a one car. And I worked my way up from a used 2011 Cayenne to a used 2017, and now a brand new unused 2021 because I only have 2 bills. I have a daggone mortgage and a car note. Point blank, period, end of story. And that's the kind of thing you could do when you have 2 people who are compatible, you marry your best friend, and you're respecting each other, and you have a merger instead of a takeover. How many men out here are talking about I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man, but they don't have their dream car? And their wife don't have her dream car, so nobody's getting the best that they think they deserve. And now you start to build resentment, and you're looking at, well, why don't you have the best? Because you didn't have a merger. You had a hostile takeover. You got someone who works at McDonald's, somebody who was cute at the bar girl, and she can't help to build you up. And so you boss her around, and you still can't do it on your own either. That's my problem with the people in the manosphere that you obviously are very familiar. You talk to those guys. You work with them. You communicate. That's my problem with the men in the manosphere. That you are ignoring the power of partnership. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire. What's the only thing better than 1 billionaire? 2. The only thing better than being Beyonce, gorgeous, beautiful, is having, or let's put it the other way around. The only thing better than being Jay-Z is having Beyonce, not because she's beautiful, because the moment Jay-Z got married to Beyonce, they were a billionaire. Not he was a billionaire, they were billionaires. She was a half a billion in there, he was a half a billion in there. They became billionaires the first day they were married. So all the people in the manosphere talking about being a man, they can't do simple math. The only thing better than you being the man, being great, is having somebody else great on your team. And that's what I have. I have someone else great on my team also. And I love it. And she treats me well, and I treat her well. She makes my investment in her seem brilliant every time. And other people can have that if they respect their partner.
My husband runs the relationship. He may, he always says anything to my queen.
I don't say that.
What I mean by this is my husband he's the head of our household. You know what I'm saying? It's not, because he's proven to be great at it. Listen, I got a whole bunch of other things. I'm looking at recipes. I got things to do. Listen, I chose to give up my power, my voice. Not know my voice because I use my voice all the time. But my husband is the head of the household. He's the one who makes the majority of the decisions. That's how I ended up with a new car, because he has proven to be great and successful at it. Like I said, I got things to do. But if I need to do it, I can. I'm a department lead. Obviously, I can make decisions. Obviously, I'm great at it. I just choose to take some time off and let my husband do it. It's a lot easier, and it makes, like I said, but if I have to, when it comes time, if I told my husband, hey, no to this, or show me how this can work, he has no issue with doing that. So, like I said, it's people who want to, I should be, the head of the relationship, or you should do this. You need to prove it, just like any other job, just like any other position. Prove to me why you're capable of being in that position. And I think women should definitely take that idea. If you're going to be a stay-at-home mother, my husband does not agree with it. But like I said, sometimes there are reasons, there are caveats for it. But if that caveat applies, then it needs to be proven that it can be done successfully for whatever period of time. I think there should always be a time limit on it. If you have special needs children or other caveats that cause for you to, it's more economically responsible for you to stay at home, I understand that. But for those who it's not, and it's just kind of an easy way out, it's going to put you in a position of bad taste and resentment.
Okay.
Oh, it can. It can.
Hold on, let me.
Yes, I'm here.
Tyrone Thompson, you there? What's your question?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, how you guys doing? I want to say I'm enjoying the conversation. You guys' energy is off the chain, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are addressing the manosphere from a married couple's perspective. I confront the manosphere from my perspective as a single black man, but of course I can't do it like you guys do it, and you guys are hitting all the points that needs to be hit when it comes to addressing the manosphere. From my perspective, I think that it's sad that black men are publicly making these statements. We criticizing black women and downplaying how important modern families are, which is what you guys are. And to hear that both of you guys are in the workforce and you guys are making it work compared to what they promote, which is a 1920s nuclear family type situation, and they're trying to force that mindset on families today, it just doesn't work. And I'm glad that you guys are both in your careers and you're both okay with your children being involved, and you guys are working it out how it should be today, in my opinion. And this need to be heard more on social media, because we hear a lot of the other way people think by making women.
Mr. Tyrone, was it Tyrone, sir?
Yes.
You said Tyrone was your name, sir. If you could do me a favor and check me out, and if you don't mind, Chaos, I need to make a plug to my social media. I'm on as Dr. Blaque, DRBLAQUE, at Dr. Blaque. That's Twitter, that's Instagram, and that's my TikTok. I just dropped a gang of TikToks today talking about this subject. So I need you, Ms. Tyrone, to come on and support the page. I have the conversations. Most of my videos I'm talking to women, but I need some brothers who support women, because that's what I am. I'm a feminist. I'm the black male feminist. I'm a male who supports feminism, heterosexual male who supports feminism, and I think we need more of that, because we can't keep having the manosphere be the loudest voice. If extremists are always the loudest, but those of us who are reasonable people need to speak up, and that's the entire purpose of my page, to be a reasonable person speaking up, because I not only have a wife that I love, I have daughters. I can't teach my daughters the garbage from the manosphere. I'm supposed to tell them to go out there and just submit to some guy and end up like every other girl, because the manosphere is missing two major points. What does following them lead to? I asked a dude, I had an argument this week with a guy who supposedly supported the manosphere, and I was like, what have you achieved? What have you accomplished? If we actually listen to you, where would that bring us to? To nothing, because 1920 has passed, and we've seen where that's got us. 1920's attitude brought us feminism. Women stood up and said, enough is enough. So we've already tried it back in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s. So if we follow them again, how is it going to be any different? And secondly, we were arguing, and it was like, well, I follow these great men in the manosphere. I was like, who are these great men? Oh, he named a couple of them, and they're millionaires, and I'm not a millionaire. I said, okay, I'm not a millionaire. That's true. But you came on, I really appreciate what you said, Mr. Tyrone, because this is key. I have something that nobody in the manosphere has, that nobody in the manosphere can have. I have a happy wife at home. I have a successful relationship. There might be some dudes out there who have more money than me. Okay, I never said I was the richest one. And even if a person has more money than me, there's someone who has more money than them. So I'm not even sure if that matters. If a person necessarily has more money than me, I am a high value man. But there's men in the manosphere who have more money than me. Absolutely, there's like 4 of them. Not many, but there's 4. Okay, so let's say there's 4 men that got more money than me. But there's women who got more money than everyone in the manosphere. We don't even have to say Oprah. We could talk with Alicia Keys. We could talk about lots of other females who are feminists who got 20, tens and millions of dollars. So the manosphere isn't like some successful entity. They've already lost this argument. I'm just proud and happy to have it against them to support women. And I'm with you and anyone else who wants to join me, Dr. Blaque, DRBLAQUE on social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Come support us and let's support women, because that's what I'm about.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I got you. And chaos to your topic with the professional women versus stay at home. I think they hit it on the head. It's basically a choice. If you're in that situation where you can stay home and afford to stay home, or if you choose to, or if you don't, or if you want to be a professional life and be in the workforce, then that's your choice also. So I think they hit it, and I want to say thank you guys again. I'm hanging up now, Chaos.
Thank you for your support, sir. I love to see you on my pages.
Thank you. And Chaos, I want to go back to a point that you had made, and you had asked the benefits of being a professional versus a stay-at-home mom. And one of the things that I hit on one of my notes that I had was personal accomplishments. And the reason why I say this is personal accomplishments is, if you're not accomplishing something, you're not going to feel good about yourself. And that's going to reflect on how you treat others and how you present yourself, because you have some type of insecurity, some type of shortcoming. And people don't want to admit that about themselves. Personal accomplishments are very important to your mental health. So I say that being a professional gives you something to work at and succeed at every day. And me being a professional in a male-dominated industry, it's really hard for me. But the great thing I have is I have a secure husband who is not challenged by my income or my position in my profession. He's able to talk to me and say, hey, honey, this is what happened at work today. And he gives me a male perspective on how to handle it and how to go in the next day and reinvent and recreate myself. And it's a great thing, because he's like, listen, this is how a man would handle it, because I'm in a male-dominated field. And that's a great thing. And a lot of it goes back to the point of, is it easier to be a stay-at-home mom? The more and more I think about it, yes, it's easier. Yes, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to just deal with your kids and then deal with people like people in the manosphere, people who are not, people who believe women should stay at home, women who believe that you don't belong there. It's a lot easier just to stay at home and deal with your kids and deal with the world. So, yes, I do think it's easier to be a stay-at-home mom than it is to be a professional in the interpersonal relationships that you have to create with other adults. Yes, it's a lot easier to deal with children.
Yes. And one other thing, and I'll be honest, there are some women, and personally, Mrs. Black, if you know around your personal life, that there are some women that, let's be honest, they can't handle a real tough world out there like that if they're in a profession, if they get a certain degree in certain fields. And I say most of them say, you're better off pairing with a partner and doing the basic stuff, if you can't cut it, because let's be honest, that is a different environment. That's a different monster in itself. And the women that have done it and have thrived and survived, I give them credit, because it's not easy dealing with a male-dominant society if you have to. But I will say this personally, because we live in a capitalist world, and let me ask you this question, you can answer this. Do you think that a woman should, I guess, go on through life out a mate and just work up until they get super old and then maybe get a pension and then live off of that? You think some women should are able to do that, or should take that route, especially in this capitalist world, to alpha their way and don't have no man, don't deal with no relationships, no family, or don't have a second income like a man, and just work until they're like 65? I don't know if that's clear enough. If you want me to rephrase it, I will. But that's the question.
You're asking, would I recommend that, or is that an ideal life to live?
Ideal. Ideal or recommend. Either way, how you want to answer it.
No, it's not. I don't think it's recommended. I think that companionship is important. It's proven to be important. Some type of companionship. But I think a lot of people, let's be honest, the longest relationship you're going to have with anyone is self. So if you're not comfortable with self, most of those times you're not comfortable in a relationship for whatever reason. But you need to learn how to live with self, because you're always, women who don't want to have to deal with men, you're always going to have to deal with something. You're always going to have to deal with the opposite sex, whether it be at the bank, a car dealership, the grocery store. You're always going to have to learn to deal and to coexist with the opposite sex. So there's no way to hide from it. You don't want to do the work to be good at it or great at it or have, but I don't recommend anyone stay at home and just collect a pension. My mother is currently single, and I'm trying to hook her up all the time. She needs companionship. You know, I don't mind taking care of my mother. My mother lives on her own. She takes care of herself. She pays all her stuff on her own. She doesn't need any help from not only me, but a significant other. But the only way I would be comfortable with her having a significant other is for somebody to come who has their own. My mother doesn't need a dependent. She's better off being by herself than having someone who cannot bring, who is not a great merger for her. She's better off being on her own. She can afford to feed herself. She doesn't need a companion to the point where it's going to strain her financially. It's not, to me, it's not that serious. She comes over here and hangs out with us all the time. But I wouldn't recommend that for anyone, and I understand why she's that way, but I wouldn't recommend that for anyone. But a lot of people don't know how to be with self, so it's hard for them to be in a relationship with someone else. So saying, you know, giving up your financial security and your power to be a stay-at-home mom, you're putting yourself in a position to possibly be left alone with those children to raise, or to be a widow and not have the financial security that you need. That's important. We have to stop telling women that financial security is not important. It is important. It is important. I don't know too many women that don't like getting their hair done, not getting their nails done. Those little things you should be able to do outside of your relationship without having to consult your husband or your wife or whatever the case may be. It's for you. It's not for anybody else. You work for yourself.
I gotta say these 2 quick points. Like, I was gonna say, one, you know, my wife obviously brought up the great point that we seem to agree. It's the first time we really talked about it, that, you know, it is easier to stay home and be a stay-home mom. That doesn't mean it's easy. She's saying it's easier. It's very different. It's easier to be a stay-at-home mom and deal with the children that you create from your own body than to deal with other human beings who you don't have authority over on a daily basis, like a professional person would have to do. But I was going to also say that there's pros and cons to being a professional versus a stay-at-home, and we got to look at those. And I think when you look at the pros and cons, you can have, you know, some understanding. It's a beautiful thing to raise a child and to watch them grow and for them to succeed in life. That is what you call priceless. There's no amount of money that you could put on that. So you say, I do say money is everything, but you can't put a price on everything. Some things are priceless, like the Mona Lisa, and I don't think any of us think the Mona Lisa is a particularly good-looking piece of art. Anyway, so it's priceless to be a good parent, and it's priceless to be part of making the next generation of quality people. But also, you got to have, like my wife said, you have to have your own identity, and society has determined that your identity is your profession, and you get to choose it. So given the power up of choosing that, you shouldn't take that lightly. I don't think you should take it at all. You should always stick to being, you know, choosing your identity and being something more than temporary parent. You look like being a parent is a temp job. No matter which way you slice it, it's a temp job. No matter if you do it well or you do it badly, it's a temp job. And so you got to think of something that's going to be more permanent than just, yeah, I was out here raising these kids, you know. So to that end, I'm saying we got to consider that, and we respect stay-at-home mom all the way, but I just don't think I just can't advocate for it. I have to advocate for more than that. I have to advocate for being more than that. And that's my personal opinion. I appreciate you letting me say that. And my wife sharing her views as a professional, you know, because I keep saying, you know, my opinion is just a male's opinion, and I'm not going to be able to. I don't think I should overstate a woman's opinion and let the women state it for themselves. You know, they can speak, let them speak for themselves, and I'm thankful that my wife can speak to the point. The last thing I was going to say is the manosphere is out here telling women to follow the male's lead just blindly, and I was going to say, which one of them have a successful relationship to even be able to judge this point? You know, the manosphere is out here saying women need to be submissive, and And while admitting that there's not a lot of successful black men, God told me that the average black man makes less than the average black woman. So why aren't we going to say that the men submit to the women, since the women are making more money? The women are far better, really, right? The women in any school, in every school, not any school, in every school of co-ed student body, women are better students. And it's by far. They always graduate at higher rates. They always are at higher attendance. Men don't beat women in a single academic category. The manosphere doesn't like to talk about that, but it's a fact. So they don't beat women in any category, and women need to submit to the men, even though the men are better students because, the women are better students because of what? Then black men specifically, not only are they worse students than the females, but they also turn around and women make more money than the men. So the women have to submit to the lower partner. How does that even work? What math allows for that? If you could point to a statistic where you say men graduate higher or men get better degrees than women, you might have a start of the conversation. But women are better students all around in every school that has co-ed. That means they go on to have better jobs in many cases. Women earn more, black women earn more than black men. So how do you even have an argument about submitting? If the person who's lesser should submit to the person who's greater, well, clearly the women are greater, right? And I don't hear anybody in the manosphere telling the men to submit to their women who are making more money than them, to their women who are also taking care of those children while they are incarcerated, running around with their other kids, whatever the case may be. So I'm just looking at it from common sense. I'm a feminist just strictly on common sense. My wife graduated with a higher GPA than I did. Clearly, we have to look at these things. I'm not necessarily telling people how to have a family, but if we're talking about strictly on having a heterosexual relationship, the leader should be the one who has the most leadership skills. You're not born with leadership skills. You nurture leadership skills. You put in the work to become a leader. I have a management degree. I talk about leadership because that's what I study. Men aren't inherently better leaders than women, and I need women to know, step up to the plate and be the leader that you can be. Step up to the plate and be the leader that you should be. Step up to the plate and be the leader that you deserve to be. Stop whining about how these men ain't doing you right because they're not doing you right because you're letting them. Ladies, the men ain't doing you right because you're letting them. If you're in charge and you set the standard and you do your thing, you handle your business, you don't have to mess with these dudes who ain't bringing nothing to the table. I was saying to my wife, you know how if you are working on being your best version of yourself, that's going to allow you to recognize other people working on being better so that you now know the kind of people that you should mess with. If you're going to work on time all the time, guess what you're going to see? The other people who are at work on time. If you're studying to get your qualifications and be a better employee all the time, guess what you're going to see? The other people who are doing that. If you're at the library studying, you're going to see other people so that's the people you should be dating.
Like I was in the library studying with you.
Like you was in the library studying when I used to come in there. I didn't come in there often, but, and that's exactly the point. So these women out here complaining about the kind of men, or even worse, the men out here complaining about the quality of women, it's about where you're looking. If you're on campus studying, you will find a woman on there studying, and that's a start. It's no guarantee, but at least it's better than going to find you a girl at a strip club. What do you know about the girl at the strip club that's going to make her a lasting partnership? What do you know about the dude who served you drinks at the bar that's going to make him a lasting partnership? Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
Paco, yeah. One thing, let's be honest. When a lot of us, and I get it because some of us are in college, the women and some of the black men are in college, but it always go back to the priorities that, if we meet in finding, I guess, the one, it'd probably be better in an institution where you're more focused on what y'all trying to become. And outside that institution, besides people that's doing trades, I'm not knocking people on trades. You can find them if they're doing trades. It has to be some productive in it when you find your mates. And I think now because we are moving past the so-called alternate ways of meeting people, i.e. clubs, maybe some bars, whatever you want to call it, I look at it overall, that's not really the best way to find a mate in the long term, because usually in those environments, it's always more of instant sex, easy, quick hookups. You get me? People there party, not think of saying what you do and all stuff. No, it's not like no courting. The best bet And I know a lot of major content creators says best, if you're a woman and let's say you're trying to find just a mate, let's say if you want to go there, then if you're in the school, then that's the best start. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it goes back to what are your priorities, you know? I know not everybody's looking to, you know, get be husbands and wives in their 20s now, like it was like 20 or some years ago. It's a little bit later now. But I would say that the best outcome is you have to do something different. And if you're looking to, you know, find the one and make it work, then that would be the best start. But like I said, everybody's different, in my opinion, and I look at it you know, people are waiting nowadays, and they just want to have fun. They're not really thinking of, you know, long-term commitments, relationships. But they sure get a lot of sex. But we're not going to go into that. Let me give it a call number one more time, and I'm going to read these chat room. Because you're going to like this, Mrs. Black, Chan. The call number is 717-908-1834. Access code 917-324#. Tonight's subject, Chaos Rain presents professional versus stay-at-home woman. What is the difference? Now, are you ready, Cheyenne, a.k.a. Mrs. Black, for me to read the comment section on the chat room? It's very interesting.
Sure.
You beat it. All right. Brace yourself, people. Parker, hold your wife's hand. Good. All right, ready? Okay. The first person that was right in the comment section, I wish I could call them. Next comment by the same person, ABC especially. Because he's a parent, we're there, therefore the kids don't need him and his wife. Now, mind you, I'm reading the comments in the section, mind you. Next comment. He's diminishing the importance of the children by the same person, ABC. Next comment. Plus, both of y'all working equally, both of y'all having 2 jobs. That's the other comment. The next comment by Forbes 1. I knew what the dude is saying would set you off, ABC. Then ABC responds. He sounds like one of those dudes who needs his wife to work because he can't provide. You know, ABC, as much as you talk a lot of crap in the comment section, it would be nice to really explain yourself, sir. But anyway, let me continue.
It really would. I work. Let's just keep it real. My husband, I'm probably one of the most humble people, but I don't have to work. I choose to work. The reason why I choose to work is because I like things like freaking $400 shoes, $500 shoes for my husband.
You get the red bottoms?
Oh no, yes. Oh, of course for me. But I like buying things for my husband. I like getting my husband things. It makes me feel good. My husband, I can do it all on my own. He can do it on his own. But why? What is the point? What is the point? What is the point of saying, you know, only one person to work, the other person stay home? I like the life we live. I like looking at our bank accounts. I like going to TJ Maxx on a random Saturday and blowing a bag. And there's no problem. Just random stuff. Gnomes for Christmas, little wreath, some dang on coasters, measuring cups, stupid stuff. I have the freedom to do that. I don't have to. There's no competition between me and my husband. There is no remember, for example, there is competition between me and my husband. We're always competing to be a better version of ourselves than we were yesterday.
Okay.
We're always competing to see who can love on each other the most. We're always competing to see who can sometimes who can explain something to our kids the best way. We're always competing for who can give the best gifts. So yes, there's a competition in certain sense, but I don't. My husband doesn't need me to work, and it to me it's really scapegoating the topic that whoever the caller is or whoever made the comment, you need a woman to work. You need your significant other to work to live the type of life you live. My husband, before I met him, while we were in college, I'm going to give you another fact. He was 27 years old. He owned his own home, his first home. He didn't need me for that. He was doing on his own, with not one, not two, but 3 Lexus. He was making things on his own. He didn't need me. He wanted me. He wanted a queen. He saw something that says, you know what? I can get more with her on my team. And I was like, I can have more with being on his team. So if there's this whole, you should want your spouse to do things to elevate you. You know what I'm saying? My husband likes to do real estate. You know, as a woman, it's a great thing to say. My husband, I need cabinets for my new house. You know what? My gift to you, because I didn't go to the meetings or whatever, I'm going to put the cabinets, in your rental property. Just let me know how much they cost. I can do things like that. He doesn't need me for that because he had it, but it's great to do that. So he can do other things like buy a refrigerator or microwave for his property. We're a team. We're better as a unit. We're both a movement by ourselves, but we're better as a unit. We are much more successful as a unit. And if people understand that concept, they'll get out their feelings. Get out your feelings. If you come up and say something, my husband will definitely. I'm not going to go back and forth with anybody on the internet. That's not what I do. I leave that to my husband. But what I'm saying is these comments that hold no weight, no merit are unnecessary. You're showing your insecurity, and it's not cute.
Yeah, it's not cute at all. All right, I have more comments. I have a few more comments by ABC and Forbes. One, he's laughing out loud at Forbes. Forbes says, ABC says, exactly, lady. All these divorces cause ain't nobody at home. And he's saying, laugh my effing ass off. I don't know what that is. Forbes answers, whether a person is stay-at-home parent is the decision between the parent. It's similar to the abortion issue. Some decisions are personal and private. Then ABC responds, there we go. Money is everything. SMGDH. I don't know what that means. He has to explain that. And ABC responds again, that's their value system. Then he responds again, everybody ain't looking to be recognized by other people. Then ABC responds, wow, the couple, and listen to this lady. And his last response, ABC, I wonder how long they've been married, which she already answered that. And then, there's comments from Tyrone. Tyrone's loving it. Yes, this is a modern black family, ABC, and he's clapping. Then ABC's eyes roll. AC, he says something about 14, so I guess he's been listening throughout the whole show. Then Tyrone, T.R.S. says, listen to this. This is the family I promote, 20 family. And ABC says, living in Cali, yes, she has some issues, but growing up, I guess he listened to some part of the conversation. Then he continues, she won't, well, let me keep that on. And then he says, call in. And then he responds, who wants to be married to this? And then Tyrone responds, she is awesome, energetic, wonderful mom. And he say he can't call in, surprisingly. And then he complains that you're loud, but I don't know why that has to do with the conversation. And then nobody wants to come home to this. That's you, ABC, but everybody's different. And can imagine they're home peacefully. And then Tyrone says her husband does, and they go back and forth. And let me see if this comment's done. There was one more question about Alonso, because I had him on the show, and he deals with insurance. He has his own firm. He said this, and I think it's a question. One thing I don't hear you guys mention was life insurance. Many well-to-do couples forget about that, and in business they use COLI, corporate-owned life insurance, for business exit strategy, and they use as well as a buy-sell agreement. I'm not sure if that's something you want to respond or you want to leave that alone. He's in the insurance business, Alonzo Hall. Did you get the question or the thing I read? Hello? Let me see if anybody's still here.
I'm still here.
Yeah, that's. I think that's a question he posed, Alonzo Hall, about something about insurance. You want to read it again? Paco and Mrs. Black?
No. You don't got to read it for us because we didn't talk about all of our businesses. So
okay.
We were just talking about building the relationship and trying to find a good partner. Definitely life insurance is important. I don't know if life insurance is as important as people make it out to be, because life insurance companies are some of the most what's the word? They get a lot of profits, and I'm really concerned about giving people profits without getting fair compensation. I don't feel like you get enough compensation from life insurance companies, because in the end of the day, how do you win in life insurance? You freaking have to die. So I would rather have an alternative benefit system, and my alternate benefit system is I like to advocate, and my wife and I's plan is to get as many properties as we can get. So that is going to be her. If I pass away, my wife has properties. Well, not necessarily collateral, but they're going to be assets that she can access in my absence. If I pass away, she's going to have assets. Properties are going to be those assets. And I don't need a life insurance company to give me assets, because when I pay a life insurance company, I'm just giving them the money, and I have to wait and trust them to pay out my spouse, my beneficiaries. Well, if I give my wife properties, let's say I have a plan to give her 5 properties this year. If I succeed in that plan, that's going to equal over $1 million. What's going to come to her sooner? The $1 million that she can liquidate in properties, or a life insurance plan? The life insurance policy is going to take a long time, and there has to be bureaucracy to get to it. Bureaucracy that she doesn't need in the absence. If she loves me and misses me, she's mourning my death, the last thing she needs is bureaucracy about how to access the benefits that she should have. So our plan isn't life insurance. Our plan is my real estate. I have a mentor, and we're working on real estate, and she's going to be able to liquidate those properties. And if she needs to, she might be just keep them going, but it's going to be her choice. And she's a professional woman. I could trust her with that choice. You know, she graduated college. I saw her. I was there. You know what I'm saying? And so I think life insurance is great, but I have a different perspective. I don't believe in 401ks, because 401ks take, and this is something, if you read about real estate, if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he says 401ks take your money, but they never tell you how much you're going to get back. And that's a huge issue. If you're an investor, how could you invest in something that you don't know the ROI? So if all of us get into a 401k, it is a scam from that perspective, because, yes, you make money from a 401k, but you don't know how much money the company made from your money. So when they give you back, let's say $1,000 a year or $500 a year, well, what if they made $500,000 off of your money and they gave you $500? Would that still be a good investment? Absolutely not. So I get a Roth IRA, I get a Roth 401k, but I don't get no 401ks. I'm not even with it. 401ks is definitely a scam. Definitely a scam. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned a 401k. I don't know if we really covered this, but if you think about it, they said it's going to be, I guess, in the next 13 years, if my math is right, in 2034, that there's no money in a lot of those things. But there wasn't really much money anyway, because they keep pushing the age back, because people don't really know what is being going in and going out. You get me?
That's the problem. And every time it crashes, you lose your money. That's another thing. Every time the market crashes, you lose your money.
Remember the big crash 13 years ago?
Yeah. It wasn't that long ago. We were old enough to remember. We are old enough to remember. So, yeah, I'm not with the 401ks. That's not for me. And other people who are, that's their business, but I'm not with it at all. So, that, that's our plan. Thanks to those who do life insurance, and good luck. But we have a different path that we're going to take. Yeah. That was your question about life insurance. We got a different plan.
That was from Alonso. I wish Alonso would have called him, because he's more in the field, because he has a profession, he has his own firm in that field. So I'm not going no more deep with that. But here's an interesting question by ABC. He asks, and this is I don't know if this is a logical question. This is the normal question majority of men ask. He asks and says, Gary, ask them why we got all these kids out here with no daddy in the home. Now, I'm not sure why ABC's asking that, because you're involved with your children. So I'm not sure if anyone, did anyone of y'all want to answer
very much. my husband. Let me say this as a woman. My husband actually is a better parent. You know, it's one of those things where he's more patient. He's more understanding. He's less emotional, which means he can make more rational decisions. I'm more of a friend. Hey, girl, let's do this. I'm neither one of us necessarily have to be the disciplinary because both of our children are great. But my daughter, my 13-year-old, is not from my current husband. She's from my first marriage. But I decided I wasn't going to have any more children after my first marriage for obvious reasons. I didn't want children by different men, just point blank and period. And I had my daughter later in life. I was almost 30 years old when I had my daughter as well. So, you know, I was knee deep in my career. I had been married for a long period of time before my daughter came along. But I think his question or his lines of questions or his comments are once again kind of shallow, and they don't really have any meat, any content, because what you're commenting is opposite of what we're saying. So you're kind of creating your own narrative, and that's fine. But don't mix your story with our story.
That's actually not fine, because that's called a non sequitur. That's a logical fallacy. That's not related to the topic. Why there's so many why there's so many children without fathers is not something that a feminist or a woman can answer. The reason why there's children without fathers is because men overwhelmingly abandon their children, and they're able to, because women have to force the child out of their body physically. If men have to give birth, there would be less children. Just automatically, men wouldn't do it, and if they had it, they would be around the children more. But the person who gives birth is kind of stuck with the child. So another issue that the manosphere hasn't addressed while they're just trying to subjugate women is, how are you going to force men to stop leaving their children? That's not something that women can answer. We need to talk to the men about leaving the children, not the women. The women aren't leaving the children. The women are there with the children. We know that statistically. That's a fact. How are we going to get the men to stick around and be better fathers? I don't know the answer to that. I know I stuck around, and I'm thankful, very fortunate to have a second daughter that I didn't necessarily birth, or create. But I'm extremely happy to have a second daughter. But how can we get men to stick around? I have no idea, and I don't know if anyone has an idea. But that's something that he needs to answer if he thinks he has all the answers. But that's not part of the show. Non-sequitur, unrelated.
I'm gonna answer ABC's question. ABC, in regards to the topic at hand, I don't mind you put out these questions, these troll questions, and you're not calling in to really stay on topic. I respect that, and I respect even better that you don't call in. Now that I'm reading the comments, that it shows me that, bro, you're more red pill than me. And a lot of your questions. And here's the funny thing, and Parker could vouch for it, and Miss Blaque Channa could do, that I'm not responsible for some of these dudes. On the average, if they decide they don't want to deal with the children, I'll look at them and say, okay, fine. But at times, if I'm going to deal with you, if we're friends, I'll have to look at you sideways as a man in the long term. You get me? Because we entertain the circles we entertain. And this applies for the women as well. If you find that your so-called good best friend, your best friend, is doing some ratchet stuff that's outside your nature and character as a woman that we represent, I will hope that you do the same as well. And the reason why, because some of these circles we keep around don't really breed progress. It breeds stagnation in the long term. I don't have kids like that. And I don't want to have a whole bunch of kids run around here without me being involved with my children, period. So I don't have these problems. So for any average man that sit there and feel that it's going to sleep with some chick that they don't feel they want to commit in the long term, that's on you, buddy. And there are some men in the space that sit there demonize some dudes that do that. You get me? But overall, you know, for that question that ABC put out, I mean, like I said, ABC, that's you. Overall, I don't really concern those type of men that don't want to be involved with a children. I look at them, if they're going to produce children, the only thing that they got punishment in this society is child support. And right now, child support ain't shit in America right now. Unfortunately. So that's all. So I'm about to wrap this up. We've been on it for such a lengthy time. Wait, matter of fact, what's this? She was advocating not staying home. Well, if she was advocating not staying home, then what's your solution, ABC? And that's the last comment I'm reading off for you because you're not calling into the show. You're not going to sit here, leave comment. I'm going to read no more comment after this. If it's a problem that she had throughout the whole message, which I create the subject to have the conversation, and let me go to let people that's going to listen to this broadcast. The purpose of this broadcast tonight is because I'm hearing the constant dialogue of women that work and women that don't work and stay at home. And I've been hearing this probably for a good while now. And I know a few people that have worked, and today I learned a little bit more from you on Miss Black more than ever than on the breakdown. Because let's be honest, if you notice, you there, Miss Black?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Those ladies over there, they're only catering to the dudes because they make some money. I'm saying this personally, and they're not going to hear this fucking broadcast. You get me?
Listen, I know Sister George personally. I served in the military with her. I have a great deal of respect for her. I actually worked with her, not just I know her from the military. We actually worked side by side. I enjoy listening to the ladies. I support them. I support people's views. What I'm going to say is that communication is very key in any relationship. Whether you choose to be a stay-home mom, whether you choose to stay home, whether you choose to work outside the home as a professional, make the decision prior to having children and prior to having children. Don't allow yourself to be pushed into a corner. Use your power, use your voice. Communicate your wants, desires, needs as a stay-at-home mother, or communicate your wants, desires as a professional. Either which way, you have to communicate. You have to use your voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, okay, at least I know that now I have a different perspective. But like I said, I have my own views about what's over there, to be honest with you. I'm not going in detail, but like I said.
And I want to say, I want to say one more thing. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. I wanted to give more context to this, just short, because I don't want to go down the rabbit hole with questions. Mm-hmm. But I was a stay-at-home mom for 4 years while I was in college, military pay, and I will say it was a great experience, being able to be there for my child. But I will also say that I struggled. I gave up my power as a career professional to my prior marriage in order to be a stay-at-home mom because I was told certain things would happen, and they didn't. And I suffered consequences. And I tell people all the time, the only way to control the situation is to have some type of input. And to have some type of input is to have your, some type of profession's financial contributions. That's important. That's important because you have to prepare yourself for the day that you have to take care of your children. It's nobody else, is about you and your children. And that's important. I was, like I said, I was a stay-at-home mom for 4 years. I struggled. And luckily my daughter doesn't recognize that struggle. And it was only a short struggle, but I still struggled, and it was unnecessary.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I'm going to say. I'm drained out, man. I think I covered a few questions, and I think everything is answered. And I hope that people, learn something from this, both the men and the women. And, it gives a lot of women that will listen to this broadcast, that they do that, it gives you the outlook to look at things, and not to be ashamed that you bring some value. Is what you really know yourself before stepping into any relationships moving forward. If you don't know yourself, know what you are, what you're capable of, what you actually bring. Everything that you do in life is all of nothing. And you should be clear and have an understanding as a woman. Young woman, 18 and up. Before you know any or deal with any relationship, you should have a firm understanding of yourself. Know what you are, what you have, what you bring, your purpose. And that takes time. But I guarantee you, if you do the little work, the counseling, if needed, you'll be fine. That is Chaos Reign's message. Any closing remarks, Mrs. Black? Yeah.
Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed the conversation, and you have a great and successful week. Do great things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, always.
Gary, let's get that contact information again, man.
Oh well, I'll do this. Because she is busy, man. You can contact Dr. Blaque because he's gonna do more of this, and I will help Paco any way I can. Once he really is gets everything done. That you know where Dr. Blaque is. Dr. Blaque, you there? I got you.
Oh yeah,
man.
I'm gonna give him. I was gonna shout it out in my closing remarks. So thank you, Chaos, for having myself on, especially having my wife on as a guest. I feel it's very important to have both sides of any conversation. It's called constructive criticism. It's called constructive thinking, that you have both sides. So I appreciate you having my wife, because all of us men talking about women without women's input, to me, is worthless. So we have a woman's input, and I appreciate that. If you want to have this conversation, my purpose on my social media is to be the antithesis of the manosphere. It's to show that I'm supporting women, that I believe in gender equality, that I respect human beings, which includes women. You can't only respect men. I respect all human beings. I'm a humanist. This includes women. So I am here to fight against people who disrespect women. The manosphere is a clear and obvious disrespect of women. That's their goal. That's their go-to. And I want to be the person who's standing up for the respect of women, because all black men are not a monolith. We're not all the same. We're not all thinking the same. Some black men feel that they need to disrespect women to make themselves feel greater. They're obviously little men who are weak. The rest of us men who don't feel that we need to disrespect women to be greater, who can be great without disrespect, join me, stand up for women, make the family better, make the society better, show leadership, mentorship. Dr. Blaque, at Dr. Blaque, at BLAQUE. That's B as in boy, R, D as in dog, R, B as in boy, LAQUE, at, that's my page, at Dr. Blaque, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I got TikTok booming. I would love for you guys to come on, ladies to come on, leave your comments. If I'm wrong, tell me. Like I said, I don't have the same reverence for stay-at-home moms as other people do. Let's talk about it. Maybe you can educate me on why I should have a greater reverence for stay-at-home moms. I'm advocating for professional women all around, because I feel that each person should have their power. No one would say, be a man, be a stay-at-home father, and do nothing. Even if you did stay at home with your children for a few years, they're still going to say, have a profession, represent yourself, decide who you want to be. And I'm saying the same thing for women. So if I'm wrong, let's talk about it. I talk about mental health. Thank you, Chaos, for mentioning that. Mental health. We all need mental health professionals that are out there. That's a real solution. We should use them. We should get better. I'm working on my book. It should be finished here in a few months, about relationships. I believe that current state of relationships obsolete. Current state of relationships obsolete. I'm giving solutions on how we move forward with a better view of having relationships and maintaining relationships. Because right now, like my wife already said, 2 out of 3 marriages end in divorce. How can we change that? How can we bring that number down? I think the problem is we're looking at them in an antiquated view. We're looking at romanticism, Victorian era thinking. Everyone can't be a prince. Everyone can't be a princess. What are we dealing with today? And so if you want to hear about that, come on my TikTok. Let's talk about it until the book comes out. I appreciate you, Chaos. Again, you guys have a good night. Happy New Year, Chaos. Keep being awesome.
Dr. Blaque, I will need links through Messenger on Facebook, especially on TikTok, because I have TikTok, but I'm not surprised I'm not getting a notification of you, especially if you're doing videos like that. But please resend it so I can double check if I'm.
I will. I got over 20 videos on TikTok. I will send them to you for sure.
Yeah, I want to see how your audience is looking at TikTok, because let's be honest, using YouTube at this stage of the game is kind of not pointless, but it's very difficult to build a following. So now the second best thing for anybody that's trying to grow a social media presence, you're going to go to outlets that are just starting to grow. And TikTok right now has 1 billion users right now in under 4 years. So if people are struggling just to get their name out there, you might have to look into that Chinese app we call TikTok. I'm not making suggestions, but I would say that would be an app to look at. But, just send me the links, and I'll put that in the description of the show. Welcome. Thank you. All right. Let me see. Okay, guys. I would like to thank everybody for listening to today's broadcast. Like always, I'm gonna get a lot of comments, possibly or not. I'll read it in the comment section of the Chaos Rain channel at the end of this stream. Also, you want to follow me on Twitter at ChaosRain7, and you can now add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook as well. So please add me to the social media that I've laid out before you. Be on the lookout for the next broadcast, and trust me, you want to tune in for the next broadcast. I have a special guest that you're going to like. Trust me, you're going to like this. And I'm going to say, person, I'm going to get back to my raw stuff, people. Don't think I'm soft now tonight. You have seen nothing until the next broadcast. Trust me. Believe me. But like always, thank you for listening. Until next time, take care and good night.
I'd like to give a special shout out to my special guest, Dr. or I should say, Cheyenne, aka Dr. Mrs. Dr. Blaque, as the special guest for today's stream, and also Dr. Blaque as well, aka Paco. And for more and greater success to the two of them. And like always, comment, subscribe, and like this video. You can also follow me on Twitter at ChaosRain7, and now add me as a friend on Facebook, Eric Rain on Facebook. Thank you for listening. Until next time, let the chaos reign.